Hey gang, welcome back to another video. Now it should come as no surprise that with my background as a graphic artist, I'm drawn to things like signage whenever I visit a theme park, or more specifically when I visit Galaxy's Edge. So in this video, I'm going to bring a bit of that immersive feel home with me and recreate one of the signs from Spire Outpost. So let's get to it. I took this photo on our last visit to Galaxy's Edge and imported it into Adobe Illustrator to create the layout. You don't need to use Illustrator, it's just what I'm familiar with, and there are a bunch of free alternatives like Inkscape that will work just as well. This design is primarily made up of circles and rectangles, so I'm able to create these basic shapes, duplicate them as needed, and remove the cutouts to create the base of the sign. The outer frame is then made by copying the outer shape and adding an interior stroke to the line until it matches the photo. The original sign outside of Ronto Roasters says "Caution, rendering fat," but I decided to change it to say "Bantha Crossing" since it isn't likely to go in our kitchen. And after tracking down the fonts online, I was able to add in the text and it was just about done. I'll leave a link to the fonts in the video description if you want to make one for yourself. Once the design is ready, I'll export it for my laser cutter, cut out the shapes, and then I can get to painting. Like many Star Wars related pieces, it's all about building up layers, and this project is no different. So before any color, I'm going to build up a bit of texture with some spray adhesive. It's a really fine texture that makes for a good organic base to any spray paint. And speaking of spray paint, the park sign has some subtle wear to the center that shows a reddish base color, so I'll start by applying some red and then follow it up with a dark brown. I'm aiming just to get the edges of the sign so that there's a slight gradation towards the center that helps to make it look like it's seen years of environmental aging. During the laser cutting process, I had the laser score the letters and design elements so that I could use it like a stencil and would just need to paint inside the lines. So when the paint was dry, I grabbed yellow ochre, white, and a metallic black acrylic paint and a brush and got to painting in the design. And after giving everything 2 coats of paint, I could hit it with my trusty hairdryer, and then clear coated the piece so that I could lock in my colors and move on to weathering. For this, I mixed up a brown acrylic paint and a bit of water and generously applied across the entire surface before dabbing it away with a rag. I repeated this process a few times until I was happy with how everything was looking, and then I set it aside to dry. At this point, I felt that the sign had gotten a bit muddy, and all of the colors were starting to blend together. So I grabbed a can of hairspray and some baby powder and gave the piece a layer of dust. Okay, maybe too much dust. Let's brush some of that off. The hairspray acts as a lightweight adhesive, but can be removed with a bit of water. So I wet down the sign and scrubbed away some of the powder from the center of the sign and left some remaining powder along the edges to help the frame stand out a bit more. This will become more apparent once it dries. I also use this as an opportunity to scuff up the sign with a Scotch-Brite pad, which gave the lettering a slightly worn appearance. The last thing I did was to apply a layer of frosted sea glass spray. This adds a slight translucent tint and helps to unify the piece since the baby powder gives it a bit too much contrast. And with that, I'm calling this ready for Black Spire Outpost. Now, some people may bring home refrigerator magnets or postcards from their travels, but I like to bring home caution signs. Regardless, the techniques used in this video can be applied across a variety of different projects, regardless of what you're into. So keep them in mind for the next time you need to grunge up a sign. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, but most importantly, go make something.